Welcome to Secular Soup. Stay tuned for real talk about atheism, feminism, politics, parenting, and whatever the fuck else Amy and Amy want to talk about, because this is their show. And get ready for a whole lot of motherfucking profanity.
You want to hear a secret?
I won't tell anybody. Go ahead. If I sit next to you, I'm going to get gonorrhea. It's going to jump into me. Just two ladies hanging out.
Is it okay for me to make fun of his neck waddle if I make fun of my own neck waddle?
I'm not sure.
That's a real ethical conundrum.
Would you know if you were born a lizard person, or can you be like adopted into the...
I think you know.
We're such professionals.
We really are.
Buckle up, bitches. It's time to have some soup.
I'm Amy with a Y.
And I'm Amy with an I.
We're just two blueberries floating in a bowl of tomato soup. We are on episode 61, and we just had a very serious discussion about how we're going to... Is it 62? Yeah, you're right. I can't do math. That's
not even hard math. That's just counting.
Adding? I can't do that.
That's not really adding either. It's just counting, like 61.
Once you get above the two-digit numbers... no. Seems too hard for me. We're going to attempt this to... Well, actually... Now that I'm thinking about it, by the time we release this, the episode I'm thinking about won't be our last episode. But we were having some audio issues with episode 60. That's what I was thinking about. So we're trying to do better this time. And we don't know. We're not professionals, so we'll see what we can do. Hopefully this sounds crystal clear. It may have been that I didn't connect to my proper mic last time.
Maybe.
Because now that I'm looking at my recording thing, maybe I didn't. I don't know. This is inside baseball. People don't care. So this week, we were going to talk about true crime and serial killers. And
yeah, we've been watching a lot of those documentaries and stuff. And
yeah, I watched... Here's the thing. Women take a lot of shit for their obsession with true crime. But like... Think of all the shit men watch that's just zombies and gore and just disgusting shit. Like,
what is the Girls Gone Wild? Seriously. Yeah. Really?
Yeah,
that is an empire.
Shit guys watch too. Like,
for a reason. Come on.
Yeah, exactly. They probably sold more DVDs of that than anything else in the whole world.
Probably.
So. But yeah, true crime is like, I've always loved watching the Dateline shows and all the true crime stuff. And my husband is still terrified of me because he is sure I'm going to murder him one day.
I used to watch Snapped all the time.
I haven't watched that one. There's so many of those shows on ID that...
I would watch that way back in the day, and my ex-husband would ask me, he was like, what are you doing? I'm like, taking notes.
I'm never going to get caught.
Well, Snapped is exclusively women who snapped and murdered their romantic partner.
Yeah. And I love how they call it snapped and not just justified homicide, because you know that some of those homicides were justified.
Dude.
Like, maybe he left the toilet seat up one too many times. Who am I to judge?
All right.
It's, yeah, my husband routinely tells my older son that he's going to end up dead one day and that his son should go to the police and say his mom did it. Because it's definitely going to be me that does it, because I take all the notes on the true crime But I told him I'm not going to get caught, so I already know all the tricks. It's going to be fine. I'm going to make it look like an accident. Somebody delete this, because this could be evidence in a trial.
Delete this.
I'm just kidding. So yeah, our obsession with true crime. I have so many female friends. I have less
of an obsession. I honestly do. I'm not as big of a fan.
I don't know that it's an obsession, but it is that I'm just wildly fascinated by it. And the more fucked up it is, the more I want to watch it.
Yeah.
And I don't like gory stuff. I don't like watching horror movies.
CSI phase. I did the SVU phase. Yeah. But I kind of get over it, and then I go through long chunks of time where I just don't have anything to do with it.
Yeah, I do that too. I went through a few years where it was like, I'm over that. But now, in the past few months, I've gotten back into it, where it's like, I want to hear all the podcasts and the stuff on CSI and that kind of thing is interesting to watch. But I need the true stories.
I liked Dexter. That was a show I've thoroughly enjoyed.
Dexter was good. I haven't watched that in a while.
Yeah, that was a good one. But then I kind of went away from it for a while, and then I got back into it by listening to a podcast, like just one podcast. That I'm not going to name the names because I don't like the host or the show anymore. But then I got introduced.
Is it Sword and Scale?
Yes, of course it's Sword and Scale.
It got canceled. Did you hear that?
Good.
It got kicked off the Wondery network the other day. It was so funny. The guy made like a super misogynistic comment on Twitter. So
good, because he's real gross. So
yeah, I used to listen to. I get it. Don't be ashamed.
That was my gateway podcast.
Yeah,
and then I started listening to Wine and Crime and all of that other stuff. So yeah, it was good. Yeah. But then I kind of like stopped for a while, and then now I've been watching like the documentaries, like the Ted Bundy thing, and then I watched the Abducted in Plain Sight, which really wasn't a murder one. But damn, that one
still
was good.
crime.
That one was good.
Well, and
did you ever watch My Brother's Keeper?
I watched that like 2 weeks ago. I had never seen it before.
I saw it years ago, and that is a good one, right?
Yeah, that one was made by Joe Berlinger, who's the same guy that made the West Memphis 3 documentaries. Okay. So Paradise Lost. He made like 3 or 4 documentaries about those guys. And he had... when I was, since I've been going through this depression and I need more and more content to watch, I was looking him up and looking for all the other documentaries he made. And so he had recently made one about the Clutter murders in cold blood. So I watched that. And it turned out he had a series, like a TV series that was on Sundance Channel, but you could get it through Amazon if you signed up for a subscription to some documentary channel. So I signed up for my free 7-day trial and then just binged the fuck out of everything on that channel and then canceled it before I had to pay for it. So yeah, he did this really good series about the justice system and about all these different cases. And I just love him. He's a great documentarian.
So, for those who don't know, My Brother's Keeper is about these 3 brothers, or is it 4?
It was 4, but one of them dies. So there's 3 in the documentary.
It's 3 in the documentary, but it's 4 brothers that are raised really, really poor in I
think it's upstate New York.
Yeah, it's just horrific living conditions.
It's hard to watch.
It's really hard to watch.
Their lives,
their standard of living is just wretched. It's such it's
beyond
painful.
Third world. It's just watching it, you feel uncomfortable.
The whole time.
There's people that live like that.
And it's unapologetic. This is just the way it is. And but the premise of the documentary is one of the brothers has died, but you kind of suspect that they did it. It's great. It's a great.
But you're not really sure. The brothers are saying he just died. He just had a heart attack or something. He died in his sleep.
Yeah, but they all sleep together. All these.
But they all sleep in the same bed. It's just they've all been lifelong bachelors. They grew up together. They're just these old men that still live in this shack and they sleep in the same bed. And then there's talk about if
it's
there's
the shack that their dad lived
stuff
in
going on and.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. It's weird.
Oh my God. But the guys themselves don't seem they seem like generally okay people. They're happy enough with their lives. They're content.
Yeah, they're fine.
They're not we're watching it horrified, but that's all these guys know. That's what they grew up in. And it's interesting. Yeah. By the end of it, I was kind of I never formed an opinion on if he did it or not.
I think they all just kind of agreed
it going either way.
I honestly think they just kind of.
You think they did?
I think they were kind of them? I kind of think it was one of those this needs to happen kind of conversations, sort of.
Yeah.
And then they just did it.
Yeah. I've thought about that, but then I thought, were they smart enough to know how to do it
smart.
without?
They're really not
because they're not smart at all. But I don't know. Or maybe he asked them to do it. Who knows? I mean, it's
I don't even know. It was a really weird one.
It was so fucked up. But I think that was the first one that Joe Berlinger made.
Yeah, that was. I saw that one a couple of years ago, and then that was on my. I get on documentary kicks.
Yeah, me too. And mainly true crime doc.
Well, I watched that one around the same time I watched Dear Zachary, which.
Oh, don't ever watch that.
Yeah, that one.
I'm telling anybody who's listening, I told my mom this the other day. I'm because she likes true crime documentaries. I mean, it's
fantastic, but it will stay with you forever.
It's excellent, but you will, put it this way, I am a heartless, icy bitch, and I was sobbing by the end of that movie. I watched this one
probably a good 4 years ago, and it's still in my brain. It's still there.
Yeah. Same with me. I watched it quite a while ago, and I can't wash those images out of my head. It was so... Because you think it's going in one direction, and then it takes a turn on you that's
and then
just
it takes
like,
another
what
turn that's
the
even worse, and
fuck?
it's just
Yeah, you think you've gotten to the worst part, and then it keeps getting worse.
and they're like, and
like, yeah, I don't want to spoil
No, I don't wanna
it,
spoil
but
anything.
I've seriously told every single person I know, do not watch that one. Like, if you're prepared to cry and be traumatized by a documentary, then watch it, because it is good. But oh my god,
it's fantastic. It's probably one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. But no,
well, and of course, my brother was the one that talked me into watching it. He's like, you got to see this. You should watch it. It's on Netflix. I watch it. It's really good. You should watch it. You'd like it. At the end of it, I wanted to murder him. Like, are you fucking kidding me? That's what you made me watch.
I just watched it because it was like recommended to me based on my,
by your likes.
Whatever. Yeah.
I mean, if you read read the
okay.
description and look at it, it looks like totally something up, and it is something up my alley.
Well, because there's that other one, like something Frankie or whatever, where that guy goes back and finds his biological dad and all of that stuff. Totally fine. That's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But no, it's not. It's not like that at all.
I
It's not.
watched one the other day that if you watched it, it would probably fuck you up the same way it did to me. But it was about this kid. I'm trying to think it was on Amazon, I think. So it may have been, or no, it's just on Amazon Prime now, but it's called, The Family I Had.
Oh, yeah.
And so it's about this kid who was 13 when he stabbed his little sister, who was 4. So he stabbed her to death. He went to prison as a juvenile. But the thing about this is you're watching it, and the whole thing, you find out about the crime right at the beginning. Right. But then what the documentary does is it kind of explores how psychopathic this kid is, and just the personality traits and what did the family miss about,
Goodness.
and the reasons he did it, and you're just watching it going, holy shit, could one of my kids be a psychopath like that and I wouldn't know? Because they're showing all these pictures of him as a kid and how adorable he is, and it could be either of our kids. Like, it's cute, and he's hugging his sister and they're getting along, and there's videos of Christmas presents, and he's just this adorable little boy. But he hits puberty, and like, he just, as he's describing it, he just decided that day he wanted to kill somebody. And he thought about who it would be, and he went through some different options, and he finally decided on his sister. And he went and got a knife, and it wasn't a fit of rage. It was just, I need to do this. So he did. And then he called 911 and sobbed and said, I don't know what's wrong with me. And they told him to do CPR, and he did it. But then you find out later that he was lying through that whole thing. Like, he didn't do the CPR. He called somebody else and talked to them for 10 minutes before he called 911. He was actually very calm, and it was just like, holy shit. You just think there are people like that in the world. By all accounts, he seemed to grow up in a fairly normal environment.
I just listened to an Audible original, because now with when you do Audible, because I do audiobooks, you get free credits for their own stuff.
Right.
And they have their own content now. So I have this one, it's called The Demon Next Door. And it's about this serial killer in Texas who was like just some kid. He was a nice guy, and they talked about how involved he was in the community and in the church, and his parents were just really active community members.
Oh, they're always active in the church.
Well, always. This one is, I think it's Baptist or something, but he was really active. And what he did was just picked up some girl in high school and raped her brutally and slit her throat, stabbed her a bunch of times, and then left her to die.
Sure, as you do.
She didn't.
I think I've heard this story. I haven't read the book, but
she lived.
I probably saw a Dateline or something.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. And she did, and she survived, and she told everybody it was him. No one believed it because he was such a good guy.
Oh, wow.
So the whole city just kind of ignored it. And the guy that controlled the local media went to their church, and so he just didn't write about it. So it was like the entire town knew that he'd done this, but they didn't really believe it. Even when he got convicted for it and sent to prison, everybody in town was like, it's just that, that misunderstanding with Danny. It's just this thing. Yeah. So he went and served time, got out for good behavior, and they all just welcomed him back into their community. They put him in charge of kids. Like, all of this.
Oh, my God.
Like, it's just this, it's this horrible thing. And then, so of course he just didn't stop. Like, he didn't stop.
Once you got a taste for it, you can't just stop doing it.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my
he's
God.
like pretending to go to college, just murdering people. Like, it's just crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
Oh my God. This kid that killed his sister, this was also in Texas, but
of course it was.
He got sentenced as a juvenile because he was 13. And
was he the one that pretended like he was running around the corner and his sister ran into his knife?
No, this is a different kid.
I remember that.
He was in the house, and he admitted that he did it from the beginning, but at first he said that he was hallucinating and he thought she was a demon. And he had made up this whole story about how, you know, he was hallucinating. Something must have happened, and he thought she was a demon.
Demon scare.
Well, it was. I mean, this is fairly recent. This kid is like 24 now. He was 13 when it happened, and they weren't even a big church-going family. But I think he had read up on like schizophrenia or something, and he knew that that was a mental illness where you have hallucinations.
Goodness.
But they interview this guy who's now 24, and he's just so calm and so cold about everything and intelligent. Like, he is. They said that when they had him tested as a kid, his IQ was like 142 or something. Like, he's an extremely intelligent person. And his psychiatrist, the people that examined him for trial, told his mom, because his mom was, you know, she was terrified of him, but she was still trying to support him as best she could. Like, she knew he did it, but she also wanted him to get help. She's like, he needs help, and how are we going to do that? And she can't just throw him away. She's got to, you know. But the psychiatrist told her that she was better off spending her money not on getting him therapy and helping him, but on getting a new identity, moving out of state, getting a new identity so that he can't find her, because when he gets out, he's going to come after her. And so she's got to decide if she wants to do that or not. And then she has another baby. So then she's like, he knows about the other baby, and is he going to come back and murder her other kid? Or it's just fucked up. And then they interview the grandma, so the mom's mom, and turns out she might be a bit of a psychopath too, because she she had been on trial for murdering her husband back in the early 80s.
What?
But she got acquitted.
Of course she
did. It's clear she probably did it. But when she's like, when you hear her talking too, she's the same way, where she's very manipulative and very just. So then you start to think, is this something that's just kind of passed through the family? Is it?
I mean, like, mental illness is genetic.
Yeah. So, like, I would assume psychopathy is kind of the same way.
Goodness.
You know, that. So yeah, I shouldn't watch shit like that when I have boys that are around that age, because then
because I start looking at
what
my
if
kids
this is something they just have that I don't know, and they're just gonna, a switch is gonna go off one day and they're just gonna murder me for no apparent reason. Like,
I think there's probably things that lead up to it, but you also have to wonder how much of it is, you know, a massive red flag and how much of it is just kids being assholes.
Exactly.
You know?
That's just like the thing that maybe, because they said that too. The mom's like, there were times where, you know, he would kick his sister or something, like kids do when they're jealous of their little sibling and they push them or do something. And how, you know, she's like, how do you know if that's really malicious or if it's just them being jealous of their little sibling? And oh my God, it's just a mess. Did you watch, oh God, there's one on Netflix now, I think, or Hulu, called 3 Identical Strangers.
Oh, I saw that one. That one was weird.
That one was bizarre. I watched that one the other day, and man, really, it did. It gave me a whole new perspective on adoption.
That one took a dark turn. I don't want to spoil that for anyone, but that one took a turn. Yeah, it was like, whoa.
That's a good one. Everyone should go watch that one, because that one was very interesting, and it brings up some really good ethical questions.
It's like did you listen to the podcast? Oh, I'm sure everybody's listened to it by now. S-Town.
Yes.
It's like, it was like weird. That one where there's like this sharp turn. Like, you think it's going one direction, then there's a really sharp turn.
Yep. Yeah, S-Town was very good. I just listened to one called
fantastic.
Broken Hearts, which one of my friends recommended to me. It's a very good series, but it's about this family that people probably have heard of this case. It happened last year, but it was these moms that were lesbian white mothers who adopted 6 black kids out of the Texas foster care system. Mm-hmm. And they lived in Minnesota for a while in a town that's about an hour away from me. And then they moved to Oregon and they lived there for a while. And then they moved to Washington. And eventually they left and the one mom drove them all off of a cliff in California.
Jeez.
In the car. They all died. And I remember vaguely hearing something in the news about it, but it wasn't in the news
I
that
don't remember
long.
that really. Yeah.
So yeah, I listened to this podcast
a
and
little
did a deep
busy last
dive.
year.
That is a fucked up story, man.
What's it called?
It's called Broken Hearts, but Heart is Hart because that was their last name was Hart.
Oh, clever.
And the interesting thing is, so it brings up all these questions again about adoption and like why were these kids adopted out of state? You know, there was nobody in Texas that wanted to adopt them. Why did they need these two women from Minnesota to come and do it? And then it brings up all these questions about white saviorism because these moms were they would talk all the time about how they had saved these kids from horrible pasts and how their moms were crack addicts and who else was going to help them if not them. And the one mom had a very active life on Facebook. She would post all these beautiful pictures that you can still go back and look at. You know, she'd post these gorgeous pictures of the kids with beautiful little quotes. And, you know, she made it look like they were living in this wonderful hippie family that was vegetarian and they went to Bernie Sanders rallies. And one of the kids was actually in a viral photo. He was during the Ferguson protests, he was hugging a cop. He had a sign on that said free hugs and he had hugged this police officer and it was just this beautiful shot that went viral. So a lot of people knew that one kid from that.
Yeah.
They were actually at the Bernie Sanders rally where a bird landed on Bernie
I remember
Sanders'
that one.
podium.
Yeah, that was here. That was in Dallas, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think it was in Portland, actually.
Oh, yeah, same thing.
But they were in the background of that shot. I went and looked again at it the other day. They had been pulled from the crowd to be put in the background because they were such a diverse family that they were going to look good for the campaign.
Right.
So yeah, the two moms and the 6 kids but it's one of those things where everybody from the outside thought, what a great family. Like they're just these wonderful, these moms that, you know, adopted these kids and it's diverse and
they're
love
raising
is love.
them to be so liberal and open.
Exactly.
And,
yeah. And it turns out the one mom was just a narcissistic abuser. Like she hits every single, if you find out more about what their life was actually like, she was controlling, she was abusing them. They were starving these kids. And the other mom, I think, based on what I hear on the podcast, was being abused by the first mom. You know, she was the one being abused and the other mom was the abuser. But yeah, when they went and looked in their home after this crash happened, they went back to their house and they said it didn't look like kids even lived there. They didn't have bedrooms. They didn't have posters on their wall. They just had like cots that they would sleep on. But the moms had a nice bedroom and a beautiful living room. But basically they were getting money from the state of Texas for having adopted these kids. And they were kind of using them as cash cows, you know?
Right.
They would get money for them. And it's just a wildly fucked up story. Because there's so much that plays into it. And then it's just such a brutal ending. Like they just take all 6 of them. And at first they thought that it was an accident that the mom, they had accidentally, because it's on one of those coastal highways.
Yeah.
So their first thought was it was an accident, it was at night, but then they quickly figured out based on the GPS in the car's electronic system or something that the car had come to a full stop and then gunned it 90 miles per hour to the cliff.
Jeez.
And it was the abusive mom that was in the driver's seat. And she did it on purpose. And they were kind of on the run because their neighbors had called social services on them.
Goodness.
And as soon as they found out social services was coming, they got all the kids, got in the car, and left. And that's when it happened. So yeah, Broken Hearts, Harts.
I was
very
thinking about
disturbing, very fascinating.
Oh, I can't remember right now, but there's another one that's just like really messed with me. There's a lot of documentaries that are really good.
Well, and there's, you know, the thing about like true crime, like my husband, a lot of people will be like, how can you watch that? It's sickening. How does that not just, I can't even watch it. It makes me so
that's something you watch when I'm not around.
Yeah.
I'm like, solid, that's fine.
Yeah, and it's like, I'm not a monster because everybody's got morbid curiosity. Everybody's got a little bit of that fascination about death and about, violence. And to me, this is just how I engage with that part of myself. Like,
Right.
I want to understand what's happening. I want to try to understand what's going on in other people's heads. And I think that's what's fascinating about it to me is I can't imagine personally murdering somebody or even being violent. I can't do that. But it's interesting to try to put yourself to understand what it would take to do that. And
I went through the same period or same thing with sex work. I went through a documentary, a kick where I was watching documentaries about sex workers, and because that's something that my world is so far removed from, and so I went as far in as I could, like just researching, like not researching, but watching documentaries,
just learning more
reading
about
up on it. Well, and I was Mormon at the time, actually, and it was
extra fascinating,
far removed from my daily life and my mindset and everything, and it's heartbreaking and tragic, and that was, and then it got into like the trafficking and everything. It was one of those. That was a kick that I went on also, was that.
Yeah,
so, and then murder. I mean, always come back to murder, but yeah.
Yeah, the murder, it's just, I don't know. I feel like in the past few years, ever since like My Favorite Murder came out and all of these kind of true crime podcasts, that people are coming more to terms with the fact that, a lot of us are very interested in this stuff. And it doesn't mean that we idolize serial killers or that, like, I don't like violent murderers. I'm not watching it, cheering them on, going, oh, cool, look what they did. I'm fascinated. It disgusts me, and I'm fascinated by it. And I think part of it, especially for women, I've thought this before, but especially for women, I think part of it is you watch those stories and you think, oh, well, I would never do that, so I'm safe. Or I would never leave my window open, so I'm safe. It's like you're watching for all these little things to reassure yourself that you're okay.
I mean, if you listen to Sword and Scale, then you know it was one of the,
I listened to it for a while.
Because I only listened to
a good gateway drug.
I only listened to like the first 20 or so. But there was one of the earlier ones, and there was this. It's just because it's always like these things, these situations you can't even wrap your brain around.
Right.
But so this guy just gets on a bus. And he's just on a bus. I think he's going from like Chicago to Canada or something like that.
Oh my God, I think I know what one.
You remember this one?
Is
like
this the guy's just, sword guy?
Like he's literally just on a bus, and then he just stands up and murders the guy next to him.
Doesn't he behead him? With I remember that one.
And you're just like, wait, how in the world could you?
And I think that one was in Canada.
There's no closure window or, he rides the bus for a while. But he's
he rides the bus and he keeps the head there on the bus with him. And
as it turns out, he was talk him out of there.
Yeah, he was schizophrenic. After the fact, it turned out that he was very, very mentally ill, and he had not been on the medication he was supposed to be on. This
speaks to our mental health thing, because this is an extreme case, and it becomes like vilified, like mental illness gets vilified, but.
Right.
If he had better treatment and access to care and, all of that. I mean, I'm not saying he wouldn't go around beheading people.
But he might not have. That was something that he did because he was not being treated for a very serious mental illness.
His personal choice at how to react to stuff.
Yeah.
It goes all the way down into that. But that one, I was sewing, because that's when I was I was sewing for a living at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And I was sitting there like working on something and creating something, and I just like stopped. I was like, wait, what? And I flipped it back. I was like, what just happened? Because it was out and stood up, turned around, beheaded. Yeah,
you don't hear about beheading every day. Like,
what
that's
in the world?
A pretty atypical.
Yeah.
Well, and I like watching the reactions of the community around these crimes that happen. Like, to me, it's very interesting just sociologically to look at, like, that case you said where this whole community just kind of,
they were just like,
but he was a nice guy. They just refused to believe it.
We like him.
Or like the West Memphis 3 case is interesting because you have this whole community that just bought into satanic panic and was just so willing to throw these kids under the bus and believe that they did it without the evidence. Like, it can kind of work both ways. You can just decide that you're going to believe this person did it no matter what.
Yep.
And, on the other side, you've got people that will never, ever believe it because they think he's a nice guy or he went to my church or...
Yep.
And it's weird how the church thing comes up so often.
Well, yeah, that's a lot. In the one that I listened to, the Demon Next Door, they said the guy that was doing the whole, I guess it would be like a docuseries or whatever it would be. I don't know what it would be. There was a couple, there was another one, but I'll talk about that one next, actually. So they were talking about, he said that the preacher came up to him after he'd done his research and released, and this is like 30 years later. It's 30 years, it was 30 years ago or more. And the preacher came up to him and said, "I am so sorry." Like, he apologized.
Wow.
He apologized to people that he just defended this guy, and then he went off and like raped and murdered people. It's kind of crazy. But no, the other one that Amazon did was West Cork. Which, if you haven't listened to that one's a good one. It's in this tiny little peninsula hamlet called West Cork in England. And there's a brutal murder.
I love a good British murder.
Yeah, it's free. It's free on Audible. There's a brutal murder, and just this woman who came there from France every summer, and there was all this, speculation. Was she having an affair? Was she doing this? What was she doing all alone? Why wasn't, all of that? And then she ended up just brutally murdered, and no one, it's been, 30 years or something, and no one knows. There's this guy in town that everybody assumed did it, and he's been tried for it twice. But there's no real evidence other than some guy in a dark coat, and he had a dark coat. And, there's no one knows anything.
Right.
And there's even that didn't dig up any evidence because there's nothing. There's just, it's so interesting. And frustrating. It's one of those frustrating ones.
There was one on HBO that came out several years ago, but I just rewatched it the other day because I'm binging true crime. But it's called The Cheshire Murders. And this is about, there's a case it was in Cheshire, New Hampshire, I want to say, one of those New England states that all blend together for me.
That doesn't sound like a real place.
One of those places. It's a real upscale white people neighborhood, like it's a suburb of something that just only white people live there. You can imagine. It's all doctors, lawyers, that kind of thing. But these two guys had gotten out of prison, and they followed this mom and her 11-year-old daughter home, and they held them hostage in their house. So they got the whole family. So they've got the mom, the dad, the 11-year-old girl, and then they had like a 17-year-old girl. And the first thing they did was beat the shit out of the dad.
Obviously. With
a baseball bat, and then they took him downstairs and tied him up so he couldn't do anything. They kept them in that house, like they got there in the middle of the night. They kept them awake all night, and then in the morning, they brought the mom to the bank to make her withdraw like $15,000. So there's actual bank footage of her at the teller desk trying to get a message to the teller, like, because, obviously the guy had said, if you call the cops, if you tell anyone, I'm going to murder your children. But somehow she gets a note to the teller. And so the teller calls the police and is like, I've got this woman in here and she's being held hostage and she needs help. But then the woman just leaves. She leaves and gets back in the car because the guy probably told her there's,
a time
you need to be back in 5 minutes or, So she does. She withdraws the cash. She gets back in the car. They go back to the house. And they, of course, these two guys, they rape her and both of the girls, and then they set the house on fire.
Jeez.
And they leave. So they strangle the mom, so they kill her right away. But then they set the house on fire with the girls in there alive.
Jeez.
And they escape. But by the time they escape, the cops have gotten there, and they get caught immediately running out from the house. But there's this question about would it have been too late to save these girls, because the cops stayed outside thinking they just had this hostage situation and they don't want to go in, and so they're watching from outside. So they were there before these guys started the house on fire.
They were there before the mom was murdered, probably.
And they could have gotten into the house and saved those kids, but they kept waiting and waiting and waiting. Yeah, both kids died. They were tied to their beds and they were still alive. The dad lived, so he managed to escape from the basement. They had tied him up. He escaped right as the house is burning, And so he did survive. He had some brain damage, but he, in general, was okay. And after that, he goes on this crusade for the death penalty. So he's going, the state that they're in decides they're going to try to re-implement the death penalty. And so he goes around to every hearing and everything talking about how they need to have the death penalty. And it's hard to watch as a person who's against the death penalty.
Yeah.
Because here's this guy with this horrific story who, of course he wants these people dead. But he gets almost every senator turned to his thinking, and it's frustrating because it's like they're not thinking about it logically or by what it actually accomplishes. They're just looking at it as this dad is sad and it's emotional, and so we should do it. But that's not how we should pass laws.
That's how that particular law is.
Right.
That's how it's put in place.
And it's also one of those things where they suspect that if either one of these guys were on their own, they wouldn't have done it. But the fact that they were together gave them both more, I don't know, courage to do shit. Yeah. Like they were, well, if he's going to do it. And of course, then they're both blaming it on the other one. Well, he's the one that did it. No, he's the one that did it. Well, he's the one that's... It's a horrifying, disgusting story. But again, fascinating to watch because you're just like, great. I can't even wrap my brain around... how these two guys who look, they don't, one of them's pretty young, one of them's kind of old, they're just average.
Yeah, they're just
they don't have horns, they don't look like monsters, they're just two guys that,
there's the other one that, Who the Blank Did I Marry? I like that one a lot too. And there was that one where that guy, they all blur together, but there was one where that guy was like, it was in Utah, of course. And
all the shit happens in Utah.
Well, yeah. And he was... Well, there's a couple in Utah. There was that guy that was selling the church fake artifacts.
Oh, yes. I heard about that
and
one.
And then doing, mail, bombings and stuff.
Oh, my God.
He was sending, pipe bombs and stuff in the mail to people that were trying to mess him up. And that one's fascinating. That's a fascinating story. But then there's another one with this lady she was divorcing this guy and she was trying to get her kids and he had them for a custody and it was a visitation. It was a supervised custody because he was real violent you remember this one?
I think
it was a supervised visit and the kids ran up to the house and the supervisor was just getting out of her car and she was coming up. And I think this was a Sword and Scale, actually. But she was coming up to the house, and the guy pulled the kids into the house really fast, closed the door, and blew up the house.
Oh, my God. No, I didn't hear about that one.
You didn't hear that one?
Jesus Christ.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. We need all kinds of trigger warnings on this one, by the way.
No. We should have done that at the beginning of the episode. All the trigger warnings.
Well, no, we'll just do it before people even click. There we go. So we'll just do it.
Maybe I'll call the episode All the Trigger Warnings.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
I'll do that.
Talked about rape and murder and
so
brutality.
many trigger warnings. Oh my God. All of these shows are major trigger warnings.
Well, the demon next door, that guy, as he was on death row, basically started to admitting to everything. He started admitting to doing stuff with animals. Now I'm being all tasteful and touchy, but
don't get judgy,
as he was a kid, growing up, and so it's really, and that was something that the guy that was doing the documentary discussed early on. Was there was rumors of things that were happening, but no one ever actually followed up on it or anything. And then years later, 40 years later, as he's being put to death, he was like, "Oh yeah, and I was totally doing stuff to all the neighbor dogs or whatever." It's dude, really? God. Super gross.
Yeah, did you...
So, I just add that to the trigger warning list.
Yeah, all the trigger warnings. The Christopher Watts story, have you been following that one?
No.
The guy who... This just happened last year.
I wait about 30 years and then I listen to it on documentary.
This just happened 2018, but this guy murdered his wife and his 2 little girls.
Goodness.
And it's not quality, but there's a documentary on YouTube, and I put documentary in air quotes. It's basically someone that took all of the case files and video and all this shit and kind of put it together, but it's not horrid to watch. It keeps your attention because you're reading the police files and they're kind of putting them in sequential order about what happened and the text messages. And basically, this guy, you know, he married this woman and they had 2 adorable little girls who at the time were like 3 and 4, just little girls. And he found a new girlfriend. And he really liked the new girlfriend, and they were flirting, and she worked with him, and he was, you know, and the mom had gone out of town for a few weeks to visit family, so when she came back, they got into a fight about how he was cheating, so he just went ahead and strangled her. And then he took the 2 little girls and
she was
put
being a
his
bitch.
dead wife and the alive little girls into the truck and drove them out to the oil refinery where he worked, buried the mom, then strangled the little girls one by one. So one of the girls saw her sister being strangled,
Yeah,
and then he put them into a big oil, like an oil tank. He put the 2 little girls' bodies into these oil tanks. And then he went home and just lied his ass off about how his wife was missing, and he just wanted her back, and he just wanted his girls back. And there's all this news footage of him doing the whole, you know, I don't know what happened. And he's this really good-looking guy who, you know, you're just watching it feeling sad for him because what happened to, and then it turns out not
It's
only...
like Peterson. I remember that.
Yeah.
Lacey Peterson. I remember that in real time. Like,
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, poor guy.
Well, in this one, like at first they just thought, like he finally, after days and days, admitted that he killed his wife. But what he said was that she had killed the little girls, so he strangled her. So he claimed that, you know, he came home and she had gone nuts, like bitches be crazy. And so she had killed the little girls. So he got mad and then he killed her. That was his story. But just in the past, like, couple of days, I think, or the last week, he's finally because he found Jesus last week, apparently.
Oh, where was he?
So now that in prison, but now that he found Jesus, who's, I guess, living in his cell with him.
It's because he's not white. Oh, terrible.
Yeah. So yeah, he found
terrible.
Jesus, and then
might
he
as well
admitted
add it to all
that
the trigger warnings.
all the trigger,
Can I make a
all
bad
the
joke
people know
about
by now if they
prison?
listen to this that we are terrible people and we have
I'm a
terrible
horrible,
taste.
horrible person. Yes.
Yeah. No, needless to say, this guy is very white.
Yeah, dead away.
But yeah, the whole thing was bad enough until
Those
he came out.
straight white guys are the ones that are going to murder you.
They really fucking are. They're the
Hands down,
psychopaths.
they're the ones I'm scared of.
They're the ones, I'm way more terrified of straight white guys than anybody else on the planet. But no, this guy, you were like, what a monster. He left these girls, like it was already horrible, but then he admits that these girls were alive on the way there. And that they had their blankets with them, and
Where
he
are we going,
strangled them
Daddy?
with
What's
their
going
blankets.
on?
And
Why is Mom not moving?
and they were doing that. Like, what's wrong with Mom? Is Mom sick? What's happening? And you know, the one girl, he strangles the first one, and then the second one says, "Is that what's going to happen to me? What did you do to my
Goodness.
God, I'm just reading it, going,
Heart.
I'm just crushed for these children. And of course, now the story is, well, he found Jesus, so. Right? Everything's okay. Now he's forgiven in the eyes of God, so
That's what happens.
So what, we should let him out of prison now? Because he pinky swears he'll never do it again? Like, he is clearly a stone-cold psychopath. He did all of this without any emotion, and only because he had this new girlfriend. He had been, you know, Googling
Well, and it's like on
getting married and,
on Stacey Peters, or the Tracy Peterson. Lacey
Peterson, close enough.
Dang it, third time.
Yeah.
So, Lacey Peterson, he had a new girlfriend, and I saw an interview with her once where she felt so guilty, but it literally was not her fault. Like, she didn't even know.
Because he was that good at hiding it.
She had zero idea that he would have used anyone as an excuse.
Well, and that's what this guy did too. The girl didn't know he was married. She thought she had found this awesome new boyfriend. And because his wife was out of town and his kids, he was having an easy time of taking her out on dates and doing all this stuff. And they basically just had like this 5-week affair. And it's all documented on text.
Getting married.
Oh yeah, he was already
a problem right there.
He was looking at vacation spots and buying her shit, and so was she, though. They checked all of her records, and she was looking at all the same stuff, and
goodness. Well, they were probably talking on the phone.
Oh my God!
Like,
although,
look this up. Okay.
Well, one messed up thing is that once this happened, you know, the girlfriend looks up the name of the wife because she hears about the story, so she looks it up, sees what happens, but then she looks up, did people hate Amber Fry? And Amber Fry was Scott Peterson's girlfriend.
Scott Peterson's girlfriend. And
so Yeah, she looks up, did people hate her? And then she looks up, did she get a book deal? How much was her book deal? Yeah. So she's looking up how much. I was very torn on that because that seems really cold. But at the same time, if you're getting fucked over by this guy, you know, and there's a way you can make some money.
Make something on it. Yeah.
I mean, right? You might as well get set up
we've
for
talked about this, that
deal.
like people give people a hard time for selling out. Do you know how fast I would sell out? Like,
oh my
literally.
God. Yeah, when you need money,
Yeah.
I'll sell my soul for some money. I don't care if it's ethically questionable. I'm not going to murder somebody. Like, I'm not going to become a hitman. I can't do that. I won't do anything that harms.
I would get caught so fast anyway.
Yeah, I'd be really bad at it. But I'm not going to do something that actually harms individuals specifically. But if it's just like an ethical thing,
It's a gray area.
If people want to pay me for my fucked up story, why not?
Oh, yeah, I remembered more of that one in Utah, the guy that blew up his house. Mm-hmm. So that was what it was, is his wife was missing because he'd murdered her.
Oh.
And he was like, I don't know where she is. I don't know what's going on. I don't know.
And it's all closing in on him.
Her parents, or his parents, or someone had custody of the kids, and he had, like, limited visitation with, like, supervised visitation. That's what it was. That's okay.
Yeah. I just bumped my microphone because...
Yeah, you're the one causing the issues now.
Well, my fucking husband keeps texting me because he's at Costco, and that means I'm going to get 7 million texts because you can't just take a trip to Costco by yourself without having 100 questions. So I need to text him back very quickly. Yeah.
Well, we need to wrap it up anyways, too.
Yeah, we do. Why don't you pick... I mean, I could talk about murder all day, but
we really should.
I have things to do.
Next week, we keep saying next episode, but we really should do the mail order thing next because that is like a hot commodity, and I look forward to it too. I've already seen this Bachelor, and I'm really excited to see where this one's going.
I think we should just separately do the next one in like a little half-hour chunk to release on Patreon for people. So that you only get to hear it if you're on Patreon.
That's an idea.
So we should find a time separate from when we normally record, just like half an hour, that we can just go through this next dude and then do a whole mail order series that you fucking people have to pay for to hear.
I had this whole dilemma today. So it's, for those of you who aren't inside our houses, it's noon today because we're recording in the middle of the day.
Yep.
I have a phone interview at 2.
Ooh.
So I was like, do I drink to record? Because that's my
it won't be the same without you getting drunk. I mean,
exactly. So I have one drink because I'm thinking by the time it's 2 p.m., I'll be coherent enough to at least schmooze. I don't know.
Well,
I sent an email. It was the wrong information. And then I sent another email today with the correct information because I was like, sorry, I didn't answer your questions. It's spring break. I was momming.
Yeah.
And, here's all the information you requested. And then she immediately got back to me and said, how is 2 p.m. today? I was like, yes.
Good.
Because I can follow instructions.
Well, by 2 p.m., I'll be following my laxative instructions so I can do my colonoscopy prep. So you're welcome for the too much information, people. Get to have my colonoscopy. So... Public service announcement, get your colonoscopy. They're not that bad. They're pretty bad, but they're not that bad. But you don't want to get colon cancer.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, let me look quickly.
25.
Yes, we have our patrons. Oh, 25. Well, yes, question. 25. Okay, because that's how old you are, right?
No, I'm 27.
That's right. I keep
had
forgetting.
A birthday.
Okay, 25. Oh, this is a good one. This is relevant to what we just talked about. For an all-expense paid 1-week vacation anywhere in the world, would you be willing to kill a beautiful butterfly by pulling off its wings? What about stepping on a cockroach? Yes and yes.
Why not? I mean,
I don't even need to think about it.
No, I wouldn't. Yeah, duh.
I would feel bad about it. I wouldn't enjoy picking those wings off the butterfly. The roach, I wouldn't care. Fuck that thing. I'd step on it. The butterfly, I would feel bad about, and I would have a hard time pulling the wings off. I really would. But
if
I
you
would
do it slowly,
do it in a hot
real
second.
Fast.
Yeah, I would just do it like a Band-Aid, super quick. Put the thing out of its misery. And then get my all expenses
They wouldn't
paid.
even be finished explaining the situation to me or the scenario. They were like, for this, I'm like, what else do I have to do?
Yeah.
What? Where's my keys? Let's go.
Like, you're telling me you'll pay for me to go to France for a week and all I have to do is kill this fucking thing in my yard? Tough choice.
May I bring the person of my choice? Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Is food also paid for? Because then I'll kill 2 butterflies. I don't care.
I just don't eat. It's fine.
I'll kill a whole herd of butterflies for that.
Butterflies don't travel in herds.
They don't?
Public education has...
I don't believe in public education. I like Christian homeschooling because that way I can teach my kids the message of the Lord and make sure that they're raised right.
Oh,
So.
I literally got a discussion once with this lady. She had pulled her kids out of school, which is fine. And she was like, I just don't agree with things. I was like, well, I understand that. And she was like, that whole, the way they do math now. And she doesn't agree with, standardized testing. I get it. I do.
Right. Yeah.
The way people teach math, it's different than what we're used to.
Right.
Kids still understand it. And if you actually look at it, it's comprehensive. And it actually teaches math in a way that more people with different learning abilities can actually understand.
They started doing it. Yes.
Yeah. So, but there's this whole thing, and she went off on this rant, and then she was like, plus I can use Ken Ham textbooks as my science books. So I was like,
shit.
I can't talk to you anymore.
Oh, yeah, we can't be friends now.
Anymore. Oh, I unfriended her on Facebook.
No,
in like 3 weeks. I gave it time. I didn't make it look
that's
like it was
too
immediate.
much time. No, I would have been done with that. I
was like, I can't. And then, I just noticed someone I grew up with. I actually rented a room from her back in the day, way back in the day when I was like first married. She's all anti-vax on Facebook now. I haven't paid any attention to her because I've been too busy living the high life that I am. And she's all like every post she makes
like all in. Oh,
fluoride in the water and anti-vax
so annoying.
and all of this stuff. And fluoride in the water actually is medication without your consent, according to her. I was like, good
you're putting
God.
something into your body that you did not consent to. So better to have kids with rotting teeth. I like the good old days.
Wow.
When your teeth fell out as a 7-year-old, because it just choices. You need to have autonomy.
Wow, you were old. That's old.
I'm really old.
You must have been doing something right.
I was going to say my husband gets viscerally upset about new math. he'll be helping our son with homework.
What is the name of it? There's a name of it. The way the school is called, or the way they teach now.
There is, but I can't remember what it's called anymore. But
I can't remember.
My husband gets so mad, and I try to point out that he sounds like the crankiest of cranky old men. Because he'll just be like, why the hell and he'll even, with our son, be like, why are they teaching it that way to you? Like, he doesn't know. He's 8. Don't ask him that. And he'll be like, no, you need to do it this way. And our kid's like, no, that's not how they taught me to do it. Well, that way's bullshit. You need to do it this way. Like, it's okay. Don't worry about the new math. I'm like, they actually teach it so that different kids with different ways of thinking can comprehend it.
It's for people that have, like, not just math brains. It's
because math is hard.
Artistic brains and...
You get to the same answer. You just get to the same answer a different way, and there is nothing wrong with that.
Okay, there's a word for this. We are solidly going against all of the things, and all of the Tea Party people are going to be very upset at us. Oh,
they really are. Oh, it's going to drive me nuts because I know
getting so upset and complaining, and Glenn Beck was
a huge thing years ago.
It's a buzzword. I can't remember it.
Well, now I got to figure out what it is because it's
tweet it at us, email at us.
It's something
Instagram,
with like curriculum. It's something with a C. It's got a C in the world, like.
But it's like
core curriculum or Common Core.
Common Core.
Oh, I wish we had a bell ringer to
second place.
Yes, Common Core. I get to go on Jeopardy now.
Thank you. Yes,
Common Core.
Yeah. Well, the time would be ticking down. We're like, I don't know.
I can't figure it out. That's how I am with math. They give me a timer, and I'm like, I can't do it.
I do that with actors. I'm like, who is that? What was he in?
Oh, my God.
Honey. I don't know who he is.
That's why you need IMDb.
30 minutes later. 30 minutes. Oh, no. I'm like, I will figure this out on my own.
Science has solved this for you,
I yell
Amy.
at him, like, oh, my gosh, that's the guy that was on 90210.
No. My husband does that, and I might murder him for it. So I'm just saying, you need to get that under control,
No, I mean,
IMDb. Get the app on your phone. So easy to find out who everybody in every show is.
I am absolutely going to try to figure it out on my own first.
No. So wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, the
I was
other day
gonna say,
I came down into the living room and there's the chick from Dexter was on some local, she's now on a new show. And I was like,
tried
hey.
watching that show. It's a bullshit show. Don't watch it.
Well, I came downstairs. I was like,
I
isn't
don't
that
like
the
it.
person from Dexter? And I live with Mormons. And
Yeah.
they were all like, no. I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, that's right. You
It
guys went to
absolutely is the person. You could have called me. I knew that one, but
see- Okay.
I watched that show, the pilot. I think it's called The Enemy Within.
Yeah, I asked John
by
the
the end
caller.
of
He
it,
was
I
like,
was
never
just
saw it. I was
like,
like,
eh.
what?
Yeah, no, it's a very, you've seen this show 100 times on other networks. Like, it's nothing new and exciting. It's dumb.
He doesn't realize this, but I'm going to show him my favorite miniseries soon. I'm trying to find
Uh-oh.
it somewhere.
Is it North and South from the 1990s?
No, but that one
No?
is so
I
good.
love that one.
The end scene at the trains. Oh, I bawl my eyes out. No, it's not North and South. Although that one's good. And it's not He Knew He Was Right. Have you seen that one? Goodness.
No,
Write
I
it
have
down.
not.
You need to see this. He Knew He Was Right. It is a BBC.
It sounds like every guy thing, though. He knew.
No,
he was
it is.
right.
It is fantastic. It is such a good one. It's starring the dude from Love Actually who plays the rock star.
Oh, that guy, yeah.
Yeah, he's like
Nigel something.
yeah, whatever his Bill Nighy.
Bill Nighy, yes.
Yeah, so it's starring him, and he's like it's this great one. No, but it's called The 10th Kingdom.
Okay.
It's about the fairy tale world,
Ooh.
and this girl and her dad get sucked into this fairy tale world, and it's really fun, and it's the 9 kingdoms, and the 10th kingdom is our reality. So it's
Sounds
fun.
a little dorky to me, but you do
It's
you.
really dorky. It's super cheesy. The Snow White's Snow Queen or whatever's trying to kill her, and she falls in love with a wolf. It's fun. It's fun.
Yes, but have you seen true crime documentaries? That's all I'm saying.
Yes,
They're
of
so much
course I
better.
have. I've seen all of them. I watch all of these things.
They're great. So I will, if I'm capable and can remember, I'll try to put a list in the show notes of all the shows we talked about so that you, good listener, can go seek them out because you're going to want to watch all of them too.
Well, text them to me, and I'll
fucked
text the
up.
ones I remember. Between the two of us, we're going to remember. It'll be fine.
Let's hope so. We'll have to tag team it. I was going to say I did talk to Dr. Dillon about, turns out Dr. Dillon's family, they are secular homeschoolers. And
Good.
Dr. Dillon is a doctor. So I asked him if he would like to come on and talk, because secular homeschooling is a fascinating topic to me, because I homeschool one of my kids.
Wait, we have
for
to discover if
anxiety
Dr.
reasons.
Dillon is a real person.
Well, no, here's the thing. He said he would rather his wife come on and talk about it because she knows more about it than he does. So he was being a good man
Brilliant.
and stepping back,
Well,
saying,
and
I'm not
she's
the authority
probably
here.
smarter and better.
She is.
Yeah.
I watched a live stream that they did together the other night. Workshop thing they were giving that was live stream. She seems way smarter than him. I'm just saying. And, probably has a better personality.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we're at some point we should have her on the show just to talk about homeschooling because it would be very, very interesting.
And we're going to have Marissa Alexa McCool
And
on.
Marissa, and there was somebody else I wanted to have on, and now I can't remember who it is. So if you're the person I said I'd have on the show for some reason,
and
let me
Cecil?
know because fuck no. Who was it? It was somebody that I'm like, I want them to come on and talk about this very specific thing, and now I can't remember.
I
but,
remembered you messaged me. I'll go back to the messages.
one of these days I'll think of it.
That's
Okay, so our patrons. If you would like to become a patron, we love our patrons. Our patrons help us go to actual conferences and see each other in the flesh.
But we are not going to NanoCon.
We're not going to NanoCon, no.
I can't because I have some other pressing matters.
Yeah, I think by
legal
the
stuff that I
time
need to deal
this
with
comes
instead.
out, NanoCon might be over. So
Oh,
maybe.
oops.
I don't know.
Well,
either way.
I wasn't there.
Either way, we're not going or we won't be there. So, but we
Yeah.
decided instead to do Skepticon in August.
We're
So
doing Skepticon in August. I
Yep.
already have my hotel room booked.
Yep.
We have everything's ready. We're going to meet in St. Louis, and we're both going to be there.
and we are going to get vagina hornets all over the Wayward Willis podcast.
Wayward Willis is going to be there.
They're going to need an EpiPen for how terrible it's going to be. So
If they weren't allergic before, they will
Yeah.
be now. I don't even know what.
they will be now. Yeah, we'll come up with some good jokes before then. So yes,
'cause that
we
one
love
wasn't.
patrons. Patrons give us money to support what we're doing, and it gives us the
Mm-hmm.
moxie to get out of bed and actually record this shit because otherwise we're just depressed and lazy. So you can become one by going to
Gives me an
patreon.com.
excuse to Day drinking.
Exactly. Patreon.com/secular soup and become a patron. You will get patron-only content, so you're not getting nothing for this
Chowder.
money. You will get
Apparently,
conspiracy
you're going to
chowder.
get some mail orders.
Yep, you'll get some mail orders. You can listen to that weird interview I did with my brother like months and months and months ago. There's weird shit on there. So we'll try to keep putting more patron-only stuff so that our wonderful patrons actually get benefits out of this arrangement. So Amy with an I may come and sleep with you. We haven't worked out the logistics of that yet, but
And I haven't been asked properly, so
Yeah.
you can't just tell me I'm going to do something.
we'll be working on it. We have several different levels. So at our $1 level, tomato soup level, is Triss, Wendy, Dan Bongino can eat a dick, Jesse. Oh, it was Jesse. That's who I wanted to have come on. And now I can't remember why. There was something I think I thought that he should come to, and I don't know, but whatever. Jesse, you're awesome. The Dumb All Over podcast, Liz Satan,
Not awesome.
John, yep, Freethinker 215, Casey, Dino, and our newest patron, Matt. You're
What?
awesome, Matt. You're in Canada, and we
He's
may
in
come live with
Canada.
you. He's doing the right thing.
He did ask us if we wanted to live in Canada, but he has children, and that's a hard pass for
kids are
me.
gross.
That's a no from me.
Right. But he is a straight, or not single, he's a straight cis white dude, and he is already in Canada. So follow Matt's lead. He's doing things correctly. If you're a straight cis white male, get your ass to Canada. We don't want you here anymore. So
And live with Matt.
live with Matt. He said he'll take anybody that wants to come over there. So he's got like
well, he
6
said he
extra
would
bedrooms.
let us stay there. That doesn't mean everybody, but we are generously opening up his house for him.
Yes. We're letting him know right now that he should probably get some extra snacks because there's going to be some white dudes headed his way.
Some juice boxes and lay some mats down because they're going to need nappies.
They really are. Some soft blankets and maybe some...
Naps, not diapers.
Yeah,
That's
they can use the bathroom. They're potty trained. It's fine. Most of them, not all of them. At the $2 beef or chicken noodle level, I keep screwing these up. $2 a month level, we've got Nathan Dickey, Kimberly, Rebecca, Verolaine, Sarah, and that is it at the $2 level. At the $3 level, beef noodle soup, we still have Jeannie hanging out at our lone beef noodle level. So thank you so much, Jeannie. At the
She's
$4
fantastic.
bread bowl level, also our lone $4 patron, Elvin Engineer. And I appreciate people having interesting names because it's just more fun to read them. So thank you, Elvin Engineer. At the $5 a month She Crab Soup level, we still have Alice at the Ask and Tell Project, askandtell.com, Dr. Dylan Medical Detective, Marissa Alexa McCool, and so yes, Marissa will be on soon. We just need to get, again, logistics nailed down. Marissa, then we have Jerry and Alan and Andy. Andy, who is amazing because he bought me a necklace and I got it last week and it's beautiful. I love you, Andy. That's our $5 patrons. At the $10 a month level, $10 is where you get your very own personalized soup bowl. And Amy, I finally finished the 2 that I needed to work on.
They looked great.
Our 2 people who are still owed bowls will be getting them. So we've got, so yes, these are bowls I paint things on myself. And they're fantastic, and they'll have your name on it, and they'll be just for you, totally unique. I'm not that good at it, but it's the thought that counts. So we've got Yesh. So Yesh's bowl is done and will be in the mail soon. We've also got Larry Yelling Man, Randall, and our 58th favorite Rich,
Wow.
who's had his bowl for a while now. So
Well, he just complains
it,
about
Rich.
it, so yeah.
at the he's such a whiner about this whole number thing. He's always just whining on the Facebooks about why don't you have a better number for me? And I'm just over it, you know? Like, get your ass to
we
Canada,
were going to
Rich.
make up our own number
Yeah.
just for you, and it's going to be the biggest number ever.
It's going to be a bajillion gazillion. I'll have my 9-year-old make it up. It'll be really good. At the $20 a month level, this is our superstar blueberry dessert soup level.
Yeah, it is.
Still hanging out at, and again, at $20, you also get your soup bowl. You get all the
Okay,
stuff
so
that you
yeah,
had at $10.
dessert
and
soup
more.
for the win, always.
In theory, if you're at the $20 level, you're supposed to be able to pick our topic once a month, but I'm really bad at communicating with people. So if you are one of our $20 patrons and you would like to pick a topic
Just
for us,
tweet it
just
at
let us
us.
know. Tweet it, Facebook it, message it,
Instagram it. Yeah,
email
I
it.
check
There's
those.
all these ways to do it. Just give us a topic. We will do it for you. Our number
if
one
we feel like it.
favorite patron is Ashley. Will always be our favorite. She's amazing. We love Ashley. our other newer patron, Nathan, whose bowl I also finished. I'm so proud of myself. Nathan is actually pledging at $30 a month because he is a fucking rock star.
I don't know. What was the right answer? Tacos or pizza?
Oh, there isn't one. It's a trick question. So, yeah.
Nathan and I got into a skirkuffle.
Yeah.
Kerfuffle.
Well, he thought that maybe the reason he didn't get into the Secret Soup Talk group is because he answered that one incorrectly.
Well, and so I asked him what he answered. And so, of course, anything he said would have been the wrong answer because I'm just a bitch like that.
It turns out that A, there is no right answer, and B, I screwed up Facebook and didn't make myself an admin of the Secret Soup Talk group. So when people were trying to get in, I wasn't getting notified. So there were like 14 or 15 people just sitting there waiting to get in since like October.
Was I getting notified? I probably was, and I just didn't notice.
I didn't make either one of us an admin. I just made the page an admin, but for some reason, even though I'm an admin of the page, since I wasn't logged in as the page, it's all Mark Zuckerberg's fault, is what I'm saying.
Right.
But
he wouldn't let you see his dick pics.
Exactly. I have remedied the situation. Amy and I are both admins of the group now, so from now on, as long as you answer the taco versus pizza question correctly, we will let you into the group. So
there's a right answer there.
And certainly,
and it's not actually it's Twizzlers.
Well, I'm not going to tell you what my answer is, but
no, that would be Red Vines for you because you're a monster.
I really am. Last and most certainly least is our top patron, pledging at $30.02 a month. Their name is.
What is their name this week?
I'm having a hard time reading it. I don't know. So, our most favorite patron ever. Seriously, there's no better patron.
Ugh.
So gross.
Can you guys get a little more disdain? That's awesome.
With the names? Well, that's my job here. That's what I do. So
I know.
Just remember, whoever you are, that the vagina hornets are coming to get you in August. So there's nowhere in St. Louis that you can hide.
Yep, it's true.
So yes, they are our highest paying patron, but not our favorite because Ashley's our favorite. And maybe Nathan. Once I get to know Nathan better, they could be tied for favorites. Who knows?
Maybe.
So that's it. You have a job interview. I have to go do this terrible colonoscopy
I have a job
prep.
interview.
I'll go ahead and
not a chiropractor's office.
Well, I will go ahead and live stream the colonoscopy prep on the Secular Soup page. So if anybody wants to watch that.
Ugh, pass.
Just kidding. There's no way I'm doing that. So
gross.
All right. Wrap us up.
That's all we've got for now. Thanks to all our fabulous listeners who put up with us droning on week after week. If you enjoy our delightful bitchcraft, please like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and send us all your monies on Patreon. You can find us on those platforms by using the Google machine. It's not hard. This week, your donations will go to Pedialyte for Amy.
Tons of it.
If you want to tell the world how awful this episode was, join our Secret Soup Talk Facebook group. If you want to tell us to fuck off personally,
which you can actually get into now.
Podcast at gmail.com. Oh, hey, cool. Please rate and review us on iTunes, Facebook, and wherever else you can review things like this. It will help you spread the soup gospel far and wide. And hey, tell your friends. As always, we'll leave you with the vocal stylings of Mr. Eli Bosnick.
Secular Soup Creed. Soup is the ultimate virtue. It's delicious, nutritious, patriarchy smashing, racism fighting, warm and fuzzy, human affirming, fun having, anti-theist, glitter throwing, tummy satisfying, pair of new shoes fulfilling, diversity seeking, happiness. Minestrone, beef and barley, chicken broth and split pea, gazpacho, tomato, clam chowder and potato, chicken noodle, beef noodle, egg drop and ramen cup, miso, gumbo, leek and pho. Grab a bowl and taste the magic. Slurp even this.